Welcome back to Beers Up Sports Talk. Sibo in the house. Debo in the house. There's a lot of football stuff happening right now, but we're not talking football tonight. We're talking baseball. But before we get into it, D, what are you drinking tonight?
So tonight I'm trying something new. It's called Neon Lights. It's a hazy IPA, a little low on the alcohol content, 4.3%, but it's got some good color for how light it is. And I want to shout out the Heavy Seas Brewery as well at that brewery tour from our birthday. I'll call it a debacle because that night is when I ended up in the hospital and whatever with staples.
Also, let's be clear. That's 10 years ago. If for the folks keeping track, that was my 30th birthday party.
9. Your 30th.
I turned 40 in a couple of months, kid.
Oh God!
Stand by.
I can't believe that.
It's been 10 years.
Yeah.
It's 10 years. All right, and I am drinking Sequoia Sap Outdoor IPA. This is from Burley Oak Brewing Company in Maryland. I mean, look at this. First of all, this is a phenomenal chalice. Second of all, This beer is looking amazing. Tastes delicious.
I mean, that looks good. I'm sure it tastes good. I wonder what the indoor tastes like.
I don't know. The outdoor, perfect. All right. Tonight, we start our Major League Baseball season preview. We've still got about 3 weeks until the season kicks off, but we wanted to get it going early. We've got the American League tonight. We're going to get through all the 3 divisions. Let's dive right in. Let's start with the AL East. And let's start with the team that gets my yikes for the AL East, and that's the Baltimore Orioles. Is there any good with the Baltimore Orioles?
Yes. I mean, no. So here's my thing. I think the biggest story of the O season is, can Trey Mancini come back from the cancer? I mean, they've talked about already that if he starts off hot, he's a trade candidate just so they can keep rebuilding. You know, how do you do that? You can't just keep rebuilding. I saw a fantastic article in the Baltimore Sun about how capacity will be 50% at Orioles Park. That's more than they've
been used to
normal games, right? It'll just be normal. I mean,
yeah, I don't know. This is my yikes team for this division. You've got Mancini. It's going to be a great story. He's going to come back and hit, and you're right. He's probably going to get traded. They've got, I'm going to mess his name up, but it's Rostman, the catcher that they drafted in the top 5 a couple years ago.
You know, he's not.
He might get up he might get a chance to play this year. Who knows? But like some other really bad teams in the American League that we're going to touch on tonight, they don't have a lot of young people to get excited about. There's not a lot of prospects coming through. They're still probably 4 or 5 years away from maybe even having a winning season. This is a bad team. Felix Hernandez is in the building.
Yeah.
I love Felix Hernandez, but he's not the Felix of old. He's just old Felix. And he's going to be in the starting rotation. I mean, it's not going to be good.
No, they've traded all their pitchers away. They've traded basically everyone away. The only thing they can't get rid of is Chris Davis.
Yeah. Yikes. 2034, I think, is when they stopped paying him because they deferred the money. So good on you for rewarding him for those home run seasons.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a high over under 63.5. I mean, they started out hot last year. I think they won more games in the first 15 games of the season than I said they'd win for the whole season. Mm-hmm. So good on them there. But I mean, they overachieved. I'm not going to see that over the full season. So they're going under. It's going to be. I mean, I don't want to say they're going way under because you can't get much lower than 63.
They're going to lose 100 games.
Yeah,
they're going to lose 100 games.
I think so.
And this is unfortunately, it's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse.
Yeah, and shout out to the fans. Hopefully, they show up, the ones that can, just to maybe help them get some more money, so they would actually
shout out to the fans that'll show up when the Red Sox and Yankees come to town.
Fair enough.
Speaking of the Red Sox, let's talk about the Boston Red Sox. They traded away Benintendi. They let JBJ walk. They've gone out and picked up some interesting pieces, some cast-offs for pitching. They picked up Hernandez from the Dodgers, Marwin Gonzalez, who was on the Astros, and then I think the Twins. Some guys that can play a bunch of different positions. Erod is back. Sale could be back mid-season. So this is a team, in my opinion, that is better than the over-under. I don't know how much better. I think they're better than 500. I think they're going to surprise some people, but they're still a ways off.
Yeah, no, I agree. I said they're the Red Sox. They were terrible last year. Like if you look at their record where they finished, and you add in they would have had to win, if you double their wins over 120 games, they would have had to win like 20 or 12 more games to get to 500. And I think they're going to do that honestly pretty easily, to be honest. I have three big stories coming out of there. Is Erod, can he recover? I mean, it wasn't just COVID. He had the heart issue, and it was just a mess. JD Martinez, can he get back on track? He even admitted like last year his head was not into it. It was just a weird season for them. And they got this kid Bobby Dahlbeck, and he's crushing right now, right? 4 home runs. He's got 9 strikeouts. This kid's gonna strike out a ton. I know that's baseball. We've talked about it right now. And can he do enough to not be a 200 strikeout guy? And that worries me. But I think those are the big 3. I know the pitching staff is a little worrisome, but if Sale can come back and these starters can tread water, I think they're going over. And I don't know if they're going to make a wild card push, but they're definitely going over.
And let's not forget that Alex Cora is back. That's the other probably big story out of Boston, is that you've got the manager that led them to the World Series, that had them rolling. Can he get them back on the right track? I think he can, but you're right. Remains to be seen. Again, I think they go over. I think they're at least 500, but I don't know how much more better than 500 they are. All right, let's do the Yankees. And this is going to just pain me to do the Yankees. Like this is some bullshit. And I know last year I kind of was like, I'm just going to be a homer. I'm trying to be a better podcaster, a better person. I'm trying to be honest here.
Yeah.
This shit sucks. I don't want to talk about the Yankees being good, even though they are good at just about every position. They've got a bomb-ass starting 5.
Yeah.
And Chapman's still their closer.
Yeah. I mean, so we kind of talked about this last year. And it's been something over the last 3 years. They get into this weird funk where they just struggle for, it could be a month, it could be 2 months, maybe and it's a lot to do with injuries. Like Judd has been injured. LeMahieu's been injured. Just they've had a lot of injuries, and I kind of think it's going to happen again. It just seems to be the Yankee way. I think they're going to end up going under. I mean, they're not going to go like 84 games, but I think I could see them at 94 wins, still fighting for that division. They'll probably win it, but I think that they're just going to slump enough like they normally do to not get to 100 wins. Not that the over, but I just think it's so weird because you think about it and it doesn't feel like 95 wins is a lot of wins, but it really is. I mean,
yeah.
So I would say that they're not going over.
I've got them going under as well. 95 is a huge number. I mean, actually 96, they've got to get to 96 wins.
Yep.
I could see them getting 90 wins. I think they're going to win the division, which makes me want to vomit. But they're not getting 96 wins. It ain't happening. Let's go under.
Yep, 100%.
All right, let's talk about the Tampa Bay Rays, your World Series runner-ups last year.
Yeah.
Some say they could have won it. Some say their manager made some bad choices in Game 6. But the reality is, here they were on the cusp of winning a World Series, and then they did what Tampa Bay typically does, and they sold off all of their really good players that aren't in their first or second or third year playing. And so they're probably going to win some games. They've got some really good youngsters, Adames, Azarenka, Arozarena, got it. Meadows is still really good. I just don't think they're as good this year.
No, they're not. I mean, we talk about this every year. We doubt the Rays.
Yeah, we're gonna fuck it up, obviously.
I mean, they lost Morton. They lost Blake Snell. I mean, it's not like they're losing. They're 4-5. They lost their 1-2 basically.
Right. Right.
That's hard to do in a division that has the Yankees who mash, the Red Sox who mash, the Blue Jays who we're gonna get to in a second. They mash. Like,
right.
You have to have pitching in this division, and that's
where they're weak. You're absolutely right. That's where they're weak this year. I think their offense can still get it done. They've got guys up and down the lineup that can hit, but like I don't see this pitching staff being as good. And I know they do pitching a little bit different. I know that they're going to have guys do the 2-inning starts and stuff like that. Still, though, I don't think their pitching is good enough. I think they're again maybe like the Red Sox, a 500 team, but I don't think they get to that 86 win mark.
I'm with you. I have them under as well.
All right, so we're crushing it so far. Obviously,
I mean
we usually do really good when we choose the same thing, right?
Yeah, I mean playoffs looked really well for the NFL. that Bills Packers Super Bowl was kind of a failure, but
yeah, but you know what? Homers are going to home. That was always going to happen. All right, I mean, listen, we were close. Let's not. I mean, call a spade a spade. They both made the championship games. It's not like they were out in the first round.
This is true.
I mean, the Packers couldn't. They got to buy. All right, Toronto Blue Jays. Toronto Blue Jays kind of all in.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about their acquisitions. They spend big money on George Springer.
Yes, sir.
Right? They bring in Seaman, the shortstop from the Oakland A's.
Yep.
They get Kirby Yates, the closer, was with the Padres for a while. Steve Matz and Ray to round out the starting pitching. All of that is good. I think it depends on what what those young guys do on offense.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about. I keep saying we talked about last year, but the thing that we wanted to watch last year was Vlad Jr., Biggio, and Bichette. I don't think they lived up to what we were hoping they would live up to. I think Springer is going to take some pressure off them a little bit, and their corner outfielders who, I didn't put the names down. They hit 27 home runs during the 60-game season between the two of them. Like they got a pretty good outfield with Springer out there. I still, I know you said they picked up Robbie Ray, who's good, Ryu. Then they got Tanner Rourke. I worry again, pitching in this division. And maybe it's just because I don't know enough about pitchers, but I feel like those aren't the strongest pitchers in the world. And
I think so. I think their pitching is actually going to be pretty good for them.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they've got Ryu, they've got Matz, they've got Robbie Ray, they got Nate Pearson, the young guy that can throw about 100. I think they've got the pitching. I think the thing with the Blue Jays is you've got all these young dudes on offense, and they're all big time prospects. They're all sons of former major league players. And there's just this expectation that they're all going to just show up at the same time. And if they do, this is a team that could win 90 games. I think you're right. Springer takes a little bit of pressure off him. He's also a leadoff guy, so he can set the table for them.
Yep.
But yeah, I think I'm at the point where I think their pitching will be okay, especially because I think this division is going to be I mean, you're going to beat the Blue Jays. I mean, you're going to beat the Orioles, but I think the Rays and the Red Sox are going to be good, but not great. This is a team that I think could win games, but their offense, those young guys got to show up. Like Vlad Jr.'s got to become a star. Yep. He's good, but he hasn't hit that market. He's got to become a star.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to do what Tatis did last year. He's got to break out. I mean, I have them under. I agree. I don't think it'll be too much under, maybe 85, 86 games, but I think they'll be in contention with I think the offense is actually going to be okay. And I worry more about the pitching. So we're on different ends of the spectrum here, and that's good because we can't agree on everything.
I mean, so you got Ryu, you got Robbie Ray, you got Nate Pearson. And then I think after that, it gets a little bit dicey, but I think you can patch it together. I don't know. We'll see.
I mean,
again, here's the thing. I'm going to say this. I'm going, what did I have? Let me see. I don't even remember now. I got them under, but just barely. I think they're the second best team at the end of the season. That's not true. I think the Red Sox are the second best team. I'm bullshitting. I can't help it. I think there's going to be 4 teams that are going to be pretty damn tight toward the end of the season, which is really hard to say. But when you look at the rest of the American League, you can kind of wrap your head around because there's some really bad teams in this league. But this is a team that I think is is just under that 87.5 and is going to be fighting for a wild card slot.
Agreed.
All right, so are we in agreement? The division winners, the Yankees, is that?
I agree with you there.
Fuck. All right, let's go to the Central. Let's talk about the White Sox, who went from a team that was like full tilt rebuilding to like all in, ready to win, and has a 90.5 over under number. Now, you got the reigning MVP, Jose Abreu, which shortened season, whatever, that's an MVP.
Yep.
You got a bunch of youngsters that can straight rake.
Yep.
You add Adam E into the mix. You bring him back. You got Lance Lynn from the Rangers. Pitching is pretty good.
Yeah.
This team's pretty damn good.
No, I do agree. Right now, I mean, you forgot to mention that they signed Tony La Russa as their manager.
I forgot because he got a DUI, right? That was the other thing.
Doesn't
right?
matter. He's still their manager. When you're rich and famous, you can get DUIs and it's not a big deal.
Right. You're right.
Their mantra is World Series or bust, so they're going for it. I like this. Lucas Giolotti.
Oh, he can go.
Like he
can go.
Starting to turn into that ace that you need. The offense, like you mentioned, is absolutely explosive. And Tim Anderson finally broke out last year.
He's gonna stay healthy, hopefully.
Yeah, if he can stay healthy,
hopefully.
This team is ready to make a run. I have them over. I think they are going to fight for this division, and see what happens. I look forward to it. I think this division is going to be a tight race.
I've got over. I'm not really confident in that because that's, again, a lot of wins. But as we're going to talk about, this division ain't that good. And really from here on out in the American League, there ain't a lot of good teams. And I think this is a team that's really strong. And I just don't – there's not going to be a lot of games in the Central that they're going to be losing.
Yeah.
So we're going over.
Yep. Man, are we going to disagree yet?
Yeah, I don't know. All right, Cleveland.
Good or we're in trouble?
Let's talk about Cleveland because 80.5. I know Cleveland's one of those teams like Tampa Bay that is traditionally like a good team. I don't see it this year, Doc. You got Jose Ramirez and Shane Bieber and a whole bunch of let's hope and see. And I know they tend to develop. I know they got some good guys, but there's not a whole lot there.
They got Plesac still.
He's all right. I mean, he's a young guy, but he's.
If you lose Francisco Lindor and you lose Domingo Santana and you lose Carlos Santana, you lost.
Right.
Your lineup that was carrying your lineup.
Yes.
Crazy.
That's all I'm saying.
I don't know why I'm saying it, but this is my team. They're going to go over. I think they're going to get to 500, right on the nose.
I think Jose Ramirez is traded because I don't think this team hits the 80 wins. Don't get me wrong. They got Eddie Rosario. They signed him. They got Ahmad Rosario from the Mets in the Lindor deal. But I'm just looking at this team right now and Jose Ramirez is a straight stud.
Yeah.
But that's it. And Shane Bieber is a straight stud too. Don't get me wrong.
I think he's gone though.
And no, I mean I think Bieber will stick around because he's got some time. But Plesac's good, but he's all right. They got him slated for 1.8 wins above replacement. That's not going to get you star potential, even as a pitcher. I think this team goes on there. I don't think they're very good. I think trading Lindor was to me, we're going to take this year. We're going to rebuild. I think they trade Ramirez at the deadline. They get some guys back, and then they retool for next year.
Right. We got our first disagreement.
I know. All right, time for my Yikes team.
I'm with you on this one. Can I go first?
The Detroit Tigers. All right, I'm just going to say this, and I'm going to let you fly. 66.5, and bruh, that's a lot.
Yeah, you know what the most exciting part about this season is going to be? Can Miggy get to 13 home runs and 271 hits so he can get to 500 and 3,000? That's the only thing that's going to be fun to look forward to if you're a Tigers fan. You want him to get those numbers. I mean, he had 10 last year in a 60-game season. So
what do they got him projected for? I'm looking right now. Like, he's so bad now that, like, he doesn't even – they got him 23 home runs. Okay.
He had 10 home runs last year. They're thinking he's gonna get back to his old ways. The only other thing is if Nomar Mazara can wake up, maybe he'll hit a bunch of long home runs.
He ain't waking up, Doc. He ain't waking up.
Yeah, I mean,
God, this team is bad.
66.5 wins, and I have them under. Like, I mean, they're gonna be fighting to not lose 100 games as well.
They've got a decent starting pitching group. That's it. That's all my notes. They're again, like the Orioles. It's a bunch of guys that aren't good, that aren't going to grow into good players, and you're not going to get anything for them in trade, right? You can't trade Miggy, which is like – Miggy's like one of the saddest things ever. Like, that guy should – kind of like with Pujols, we'll talk about him in a little bit. Like, these guys should be on a team trying to win a championship. Instead, they're stuck on bad teams, like barely able to move, a shell of their former selves.
Yeah.
And, like, if I'm Miggy, I'd be like, hey, Detroit, like, I'll settle on like a $5 buyout. Just let me go sign with a team and, like, try to win some games. And I know that's not how baseball works, but, like, this is a bad team.
Yeah.
This is not under. I mean, we're gonna agree, but it's under. It's easy.
Yeah.
Easy. All right, let's go to the KC Royals. They took my guy Benintendi. They're an interesting team.
They are. I agree.
Because they got some pitching.
Yep.
They got a bunch of guys that can rake.
Yep.
And yet they're number 72.5. What do you got?
So, I mean, they like you said, they got Benintendi. They got Carlos Santana. They still have Whit Merrifield, and they got the upside of Hunter Dozier. Like, other than last year, he was pretty decent. But I'm not falling for the names like I did last year with the Rangers. Like, I kind of was like, oh, I think the Rangers are going to be that breakout team.
Right.
With that being said, I think they can get over the 72 wins.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going over, but they're not going to, like, I legitimately last year was like, the Rangers are going to be like a wicked surprise and they're going to make the playoffs. I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm saying they'll be a lot better than that 72.5 wins. I mean, I know that, you know, Chicago's pretty stacked. Minnesota is pretty darn good still. But I think they'll fight enough to get over.
And this feels like a low number, even in this division where you have two really good teams. And I think we, you know, maybe we're a little bit different on Cleveland, but like, I mean, you've got Mondesi. I know Salvador Perez is old, but he's still Salvador Perez. Yep. You mentioned Santana. You mentioned Merrifield, Benintendi. Jorge Soler is a 30 home run guy. Yes, Dozier, they locked up. Like, these aren't bad players. Like, when we talk about the Tigers, we're talking about like straight bums. Like, these are legit major league players that they've like signed to extensions. So like, they're part of a younger core that's going to get better. And the pitching staff isn't bad. I'm guessing they end up somewhere right around 500. They're not going to make the playoffs, but I think they're going to improve. And again, this is a young team that's going to get to grow together.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch. I mean,
yeah,
they can lock these players up, some of these younger players, and keep them around. I think, you know, they could get back to the prominence they had, you know, 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's finish with Minnesota, a team that's gotten good over the last couple of years. The number's 88.5. This is just a really good team. Like, they're just good everywhere.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of weakness on this team. They added Aldrelton Simmons, which just kind of solidifies an already really good team in terms of defense, even better. I don't think they're going to have a problem scoring runs. And they re-signed Nelson Cruz. I don't think they're going to have a problem playing defense. Like, I don't see any major weaknesses here.
No, I agree with you. I mean, that their biggest loss on it, in my mind, is they went from Odorizzi to Happ. Like, that's like the biggest loss. Like, and that's it's not even big of a drop off. Like, that's maybe at 1 run in the ERA category, but that's not awful,
Mhm.
right? There's a really fun stat I saw from last year. Donaldson, Mitch Garver, Polanco, and Buxton missed, or they only played 140 of the possible 240 games. So like
Mhm.
this team won a division. Granted, it came down to the last game of the year, but they won a
Yep.
division with those 4 players not even playing, maybe probably half the games, which is
Right.
crazy. So this team
Yeah.
has all the opportunity to be even better than that 88.5. And I think
Yeah.
they're going to. I think they're still the team to beat in this division. So I have them going on.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're not going to disagree on this one. I'd love to disagree with you. I will say I agree with you. That was the thing I wrote down. I think a lot of what this team's going to come. This is a team that I could see making a splash for a pitcher, a starting pitcher at some point in the summer, because you're asking a lot out of Pineda and a lot out of Happ to be your 3 and 4 guys. I think Barrios and Maeda are solid. They're great. They're going to do their thing. But Pineda and Happ are like, and I guess Schumacher to some extent because he's going to be their 5. Those aren't great pitchers, so I could see them being like a team that tries to go out and score a big time starting pitcher for the stretch run. I think I got him. I got him going over to, and I got him winning the division. I'm going to call it right now. They're my division pick for this year.
That's my division winner. So we're on the same boat.
Yeah, we don't disagree much, folks. Just deal with it. It is what it is. I mean, great minds think alike. That's just how it is.
No doubt.
Let's move on to the West, which sucks. I'm just going to call it right now. The West sucks.
Spade is a spade.
But you know what? Let's start with the team that's probably going to win the division. Let's start with the Houston Astros. The number is 87.5. Their offense is still, even losing George Springer, is still insanely legit.
Yeah.
And what do you think?
I mean, they lost their leadoff hitter, but I think they won't have any problems finding someone to replace that guy. It sounds like Bregman should be a good fit for that. So, I mean,
this is. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's like if someone. Okay, so let's just say the Braves. If the Braves went out and they lost Freddie Freeman, they would become a significantly worse team. Like significantly, I think that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Houston became significantly worse because of Springer leaving. I think they became a little, not as good, but
right.
With this division, I think they can score some runs and they won't, they won't have to worry about anything. They have probably the most talented roster in this division.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to
Well, that's not hard.
Right. Well, no, I agree with you. I mean, so I'm going over. I think they're, they could fight to get to 90, but I don't know if they'll get there.
Yeah, I'm going to go over. I'm going to go over just because the division sucks. I mean, this is what happens when you stink for so long and you just have so many bites at the apple and you get so many homegrown guys.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at their wins above replacement, right? Every other team to this point, and even the Yankees, who are a pretty stacked lineup, when you look at this team, I mean, you got Bregman at 5.5 or 5.8. You got Correa at 4.0. You got Jordan Alvarez, who's still a young dude, almost 4 wins above replacement. I mean, Jose Altuve, just another 3-4 win guy. This offense is legit. Now, where I do have some concerns is in their pitching, and this is another team that I could see. If they're cruising along in the latter months of summer, maybe trying to go out there and pick some guy up. I mean, you've got Greinke, you've got McCullers, your man Ortiz you mentioned,
Yep,
it's there now, but like there's not a lot of depth there. And if there's a big time starting pitcher that maybe becomes available, and I don't have one off the top of my head, but if one were to come available, you mentioned Bieber maybe could get traded. I doubt that happens, but like. This is a team that I could see trying to pick somebody up because they're good enough to get back. They're gonna steamroll the division, in my opinion, and so they're gonna need something to get to the World Series.
No, I do agree. You worry about Greinke falling off because he's been around for a while, but I mean he was an absolute monster last year. He's been a monster basically his whole career once he got past his the anxiety and the depression things, and he's just a monster.
Yeah.
So I do have him over.
All right, let's move on to the Los Angeles Angels, who continually disappoint me and will once again waste a year of Mike Trout's greatness with a shitty baseball team. God damn it. Like, I tried to put all of my good vibes last year by picking them to win games.
Yes,
I figured maybe a shortened season was a chance to like get Trout where he needed to be. This team stinks, man. Like,
the pitching staff is just, it's scary, and not like that Yankee lineup scary, like scary as in it's not good. It's like,
I mean,
Ohtani,
listen.
I mean, he's finally supposedly healthy. Hopefully, he can pitch more than 1 2/3 innings like he did last year. Tommy John helps people usually. So I'm hoping he gets a chance to pitch well and does, because they spent all that money to have him not just hit homers but to strike people out, and he hasn't.
Well, true, but he'll be, in my opinion, he'll be far more valuable if he's a guy that can go out and hit 30 home runs and hit 280, 290. I'm just looking at their starting pitching right now. Like, I mean, you're relying on Dylan Bundy and Alex Cobb and Jose Quintana, guys that were once considered to be good pitchers who probably aren't. And it's just like, again, and then don't get me started on their goddamn lineup, D. Like, yes, you have Mike Trout. Yes, you have Anthony Rendon, but then you have a bunch of absolute bums. Your fifth best wins above replacement guy projected is Jose Iglesias, who stinks with the bat. And I know he's got a little better in the later half of his career, but good God. Justin Upton, still his washed up self still on this team.
Oh, Justin Upton is such a, he has not lived up to what most people thought. When he I was ecstatic, and then when he was gone, I was like, thank goodness.
And I'm going to be fully honest with you. I'm going under, but I'm calling reverse jinx. I'm doing the under to hope for the good vibes. That maybe they prove me wrong, but this team might get to 500, but they might not. I'm going under.
So I think going into this, I was actually over. I had over, and then you talked me out of the over, so I'm now under. like to me, I was like, I like their lineup, and then you're kind of like telling me that they're not good, so I'm going to trust you here. I see Jose Iglesias, and I don't see that bad of a player, and maybe it's just recency bias, and that's why. So, but I'm going to go with you, and I'm going to go under this time.
You're such a flip-flopper.
We're going to disagree on some things by the end of this, I'm sure.
I don't know. All right, let's move on to Oakland. 86.5 is the number. I actually saw Billy Beane today on a computer giving a presentation, but that's neither here nor there.
Okay.
I don't know, man. I like the A's are the A's. Like they make a couple trades, they sign a couple guys, this is I don't even know. I'm just gonna say it. I got them under. Just barely. They're under. I don't think they're as good as they were last year. It is what it is.
I have them over. They lost Chris Davis, who was batting 150 with 1 home run all last season. They had 34 or 35 wins last year in the 60 game season. I think, losing Chris Davis is addition by subtraction. And maybe the O's should take heed of that and maybe somehow subtract Chris Davis. Sorry.
They can't. That's too much money. It's too much money, Dot.
So, you know what? I don't even care until they're terrible. I'm picking them to go over. They're going to get, it was either going to be Tampa or Oakland. I'm going with Oakland. They're going over.
I mean, if their pitching staff shows up, because they've got 3 or 4 legit starting pitchers, if they show up and they do, and they're at the max of their potential, they're going to win. I just don't. I mean, I know Chris Davis is not who he was, but that offense doesn't. I mean, Chapman's good, but it doesn't really get me going.
Yep.
I'm going under. This is the year they take a little bit of a step back. And again, and I'm going to say this division is awful. And so maybe they go over because the next two teams are straight butt. Let's talk about the Seattle Mariners. They have been in this like hybrid rebuilding mode where their GM wants to rebuild, but also like invest in veterans on the fly and try to like flip them, but maybe they're a part of the future, but I don't really know. They're getting better. They've got a bunch of young dudes that I think are going to be really good in 3 or 4 years, but they're not very good right now.
No, they're really not. I just don't see them getting hot enough to get to 71 or 72 wins. Like the roster is just underwhelming to me. I mean, I don't even know a lot about Seattle Mariners. A lot of these teams. I mean, at least Houston, they're in the playoffs. Angels, they got Trout, and they're kind of a big deal. Like, but the Mariners, like, they're on at 10:05 at night. You just don't really hear much about them because they've just been so bad for so long.
It's bad when the biggest news that comes out of your team's camp this spring is that your team president gets fired because he made disparaging remarks about the team at a Rotary Club event. A lesson to the folks out there. Zooms are recorded like this one. Don't say stupid shit. He went and got himself fired because he was saying dumb shit. Yeah. When that's the biggest thing that comes out of your camp, you know it's bad. I just like, they're not very good.
No, they're not. So I think we're agreeing that they're going under.
I've got them over. They're bad, but they're going to win games in this division.
Okay.
I've got them just over. I think the difference between this and some of the other bad teams in the American League is that they do have some young guys that can play, and they're and I'm a Mariners fan, so like maybe I'm just being a homer here, but like some of their older guys, Kyle Seager, Mitch Haniger, like they're actually good players. Yep. And so now that could mean that they trade them off, around the trade deadline, and then they get. But this is a team that's not bad. They're just inexperienced, and again, I think their pitching is going to be a little bit better than advertised. Again, it depends on Paxton. Can he show up? Can Justin Sheffield kind of show up a little bit more? Again, 71.5. I got them just barely over, but I got them over. I don't like them. They're not good, but they're going to be over.
No doubt.
Let's go to the yikes team of the AL West. And I don't think you disagree. Or maybe you will. I don't know.
No, not this year.
The Texas Rangers are straight booty.
Did you just say straight booty?
You heard me. They are not good. And if I'm Joey Gallo or Chris Davis, I'm just trying to hit a home run every time I'm up. I mean, that's what they try to do anyway.
Right.
But I'm trying to hit as many home runs as possible so somebody trades me off this awful team.
Yeah. So I will not pick them to be my sleeper.
Good. That's solid. That's a smart move, I think, on your part.
Yeah, most of their pitching staff didn't change, and not falling for that again. I have high hopes. I don't have any hopes for this team this year.
I'm looking at their FanGraphs page.
Yep.
Their best wins above replacement is Joey Gallo, a guy who's slated to strike out 229 times. That's their best offensive player. I mean, now, don't get me wrong. Gallo's going to hit 40 home runs. Yeah, it's not baseball, though. 229 times is not baseball.
I mean, right now, that's the game of baseball. It's with the shift on, people are trying to hit home runs. It's either home runs or strikeouts now, and it's starting. I'm not a huge fan of it. Baseball has, teams. There are some teams that still play the small ball. You got the Oaklands. You have Tampa. I feel like even though the Braves hit a lot of home run, they still do a lot. Oh, no, never mind, because they had plenty of times to do some bunting in their Cincinnati matchup last year. So I miss some of the strategy of the game. So
this team is bad, bruh.
They're not good. They're going under, and I don't even think it's going to be close.
No, this is another team I think is going to lose 100 games. They've got some pitching there that could work. But this is a team, again, there's a couple of young guys that are promising, but the majority of the guys that are going to be playing baseball at the start of the season for this team are not good baseball players. And again, I think my thing with, again, I'm going to go back to Seattle. Like, you go look at Herringer and you look at Seager. These are guys that are good, who have been good. Maybe not as good as they were in their prime, but like, they're good. And if they're good, they're going to get traded. Like, even Gallo, like, if he's good, I don't know the team's going to want to trade for him because, like, you're just going to pick up a guy that might hit a home run or strike out 5 times.
Yep.
Same with Chris Davis. I don't know. Yeah, they're going under. They're going to lose 100 games. God damn it. The Houston Astros are going to win the division. I don't even know that it's going to be that close.
So do we have, looking at this, we have 3 teams under that are going to have 100 losses? The Rangers, the Tigers, and the
I think I got Baltimore and I got Texas losing 100 games.
Okay. I think I have.
I don't know that I have Detroit losing 100 games, but now that I'm looking at their team, they're going to lose 100 games.
Yeah.
Yes, we've got 3 teams losing 100 games.
Yeah, I told you. I'm going down with the ship. I'm going Oakland.
All right, I'm going Houston. I'm going to say this. The AL East is kind of stacked,
Yes.
minus the Orioles. The rest of the American League is kind of shit. You got 2 out of the 5 teams in each of the divisions that are going to be good. Yeah. But there's in my opinion, there's a significant drop off, right?
Yes.
And I don't even know that I feel that strong about Oakland. I don't feel strong about Cleveland. Like, you've got Detroit, it's just not good. I mean, the Houston Astros, you're right. Oakland might make a run just because the rest of that division stinks.
That's what I think is going to happen.
All right, let's finish up with your MVP pick for the American League.
I think that a lot of people always say that I shouldn't say always. People think that the MVP should be from the team that makes the playoffs. But, Trout's still the best player in that league. I think he's going to have a monster year. I think Rendon's going to break out a little bit more than last year and protect him, or Ohtani is going to protect him. Whoever, he's going to have protection in front and behind him, I think, this year. And I think that's going to help him tremendously. So I have him as my MVP.
Guy doesn't even need to help Dot. The guy's the best player in baseball, and it's not even really that close. You got some young guys that are coming up. Juan Soto is one that comes to mind, and we'll talk about him next time.
Yeah.
But Mike Trout has been on a bad team his entire career. Let's be clear. We glossed over the fact that Albert Pujols is still a member of the Angels. He's so bad that we're not even talking about him. But you're right. He's got Rendon. He's got Ohtani. But this is a guy that doesn't even need that. For most of his career, he hasn't had that. He's got Upton. He's got Pujols. He's got all these guys in that lineup. And he's still going to ball out and be the best player in baseball. He's your MVP. Who do you got for Cy Young?
I don't want to do this. And it's always the big name that doesn't win it. But I'm Garrett Cole, because he's going to get enough run support where
he's such a punk, man. He's such a punk.
Even on his struggling days, he's going to get the wins. So, he doesn't struggle often. If you want to, if I don't have a breakout that's just going to be crazy and take it away, I'm going with the name.
I'm going breakout. I had a name down and I'm switching it. And because you know why I'm switching it? Because I thought about him and then I went away from him, but I'm coming back to him.
Okay.
I'm going with Jose Barrios. I'm going with
I like it.
A sleeper, a guy that has the stuff to be a Cy Young. He hasn't put it together yet, but I think he's a guy that if that team gets hot and he gets on a roll, he's a Cy Young.
No doubt. And I think you can even talk about Giolito and then you got Greinke. There's plenty of people that can win it. I just think
Shane Bieber won it last year. He's going to be a really good pitcher again.
Right. I just think Garrett Cole has so much protection that
you can fuck right the hell off. That's what I'm going to tell you right now.
I know.
I agree
with the Yankees.
All right. Last call presented by Progression Brewery. Debo, what you got?
I kind of had high hopes that the Packers would go out and at least put the franchise tag on Aaron Jones. They did not. I thought $9 million, or it's like $9.5 million, is not a lot to keep him with the team for one more year and maybe work on a deal. I know he's going to have the opportunity. They're still going to work it out. But I just can't see him not getting much more than they can offer.
Yep.
So, it's going to stink. It's about to become A.J. Dillon time in Green Bay. But hopefully the Packers can do something. I mean, right now they're talking about trading Preston Smith. So there's a lot of things going on to try and move this money around to be able to have some money to even sign some rookies. So, and Devin Funchess is back.
I'm sorry, what is that guy playing in the NFL?
He is going to play in the NFL. He took a $850,000 or $750,000 pay cut, but it doesn't affect.
So is he playing for free? Because he couldn't have been making much more money than that.
So it is not even going to affect the salary cap because he's giving back some of the signing bonus.
Awesome. I'm sure he's going to play a big role in that offense. All right. I was going to talk about how 0 Republicans voted for a stimulus package that 75% of Americans approve of, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay in the realm of sports because it doesn't always have to be about politics here on Bust. The Buffalo Bills re-upped to Matt Milano a couple hours ago.
Yep.
Why is this important? Because everybody figured he was gone. Everybody figured he was going to test free agency. They bring back Milano. They're going to have Traymon Edwards. They've got their linebacking core, which I love. I'm actually pro Milano. I know there was a lot of people who were like, let him ride, roll with AJ Klein. Fuck out of here, you crazy people. AJ Klein is good, but he's not an every down linebacker where Milano can both rush the passer. He can play in protection, he can play on defense. I like the signing. They had to cut John Brown to do it. They had to cut Mario Addison. Addison, I don't really care too much about. Brown kind of hurts a little bit, but his injuries last year kind of phased him out of the offense. Gabriel Davis kind of showed up a little bit, and I think they just felt a little bit more comfortable. Plus, it looks like there's going to be wide receivers out there available.
There's a ton of wide receivers out there.
And maybe Brown comes back on a cheap deal. Who knows?
Yep. There's a lot. There's a lot of free agency about to happen, and it's gonna be fun. Hopefully we get through with this baseball talk and we can get back into free agent football, and soon we're gonna be talking about
we can start talking about how Deshaun Watson's coach thinks that he's gonna be playing there at the start of the season, which is batshit crazy, but that's neither here nor there.
What are you gonna do?
Right.
NFL.
All right, y'all. We'll see y'all next time. Stop playing. We're out of here.
Peace.